Alright, so the carb that came with this thing is, in my opinion, might be a little too far gone. Butterflies missing, like, it was like under the exhaust in the bin that I got, so I don't know if I'm going to try to save this. I'm going to try to find Bendix carb for this, but in the meantime, I'm going to Franken carb up just to see if I can get this thing to idle. This does have the internal throttle, so that will not work on this carb, but I'm probably just gonna hook up a throttle, kind of going through it, making sure it'll be enough just to like get the bike to idle and see what's going on. So let's do that. All right, we're gonna check the accelerator pump diaphragm. I'm sure the jets in that thing are gonna be too small, but it'll be fine to get it to turn on. It's not gonna be. If anybody has, you know, an early Bendix carb, hit me up. I'd like to slap one on. Ain't gonna do it. So first and foremost, let's take this carb off of eBay. Steal from all my kits. All right, that's good. And that's good. Come on, get out. So you use the right tool for the job, it'll come right out. Yeah, I'm replacing these little O-rings by they always go bad in the accelerator pumps. Always dry out, get all weird. Like this one's so dry, it's not even coming out. Bro, this is gonna work. Dag nabbit. Back to the drawing board we go. Man, I sure got plenty of those gaskets though. I got all the stuff that barely goes bad. Go figure. All right, we got one. I don't know if it's my last one. I never actually check if it's my last one or not. It's, again, this doesn't have to get me to work. It just has to idle. I want to see if this bike idles before I go any further with it. And honestly, I shouldn't really go any further until I get the title for it. But what if it runs good? And I can have some fun with it. So here you go. Brush it out. It's got spark, so all it needs is fuel. I set that thing on fire yesterday, which I'm sure you guys seen. If you haven't seen it, check out my YouTube short of catching that thing on fire. A little bit, I just put a little bit of starting fluid in there just to see if, you know, see what would happen. And it did its job. See if this works. Cool. And all this is cleaned out enough. Put this plug back. I don't know if I should test it with the plug or not. Whatever. Float's working. This is broken, so I'm just gonna have to make do. You know, I could get like a $50 Amazon S&S carburetor and it'd be fine. That's what we're doing. That's what we got. What we got right now. A right now kind of guy, you know? Oh my God, look at that. They come right out. That's awesome. A lot of washers. Somebody was serious about this one. Somebody wasn't messing around. All right, so luckily there's a lot of room on the other side, so I can put the manifold on first and then wiggle the carb on. I'm gonna reuse the old ones. They're pretty mushy. It'll be just fine just to get this thing to idle, see what she does. All right, it's gonna be tough to see, but so what I'm gonna do is with these, I'm gonna put one around like the flat part. So you're gonna stretch it a little bit, so you gotta make sure it's kind of a good one. Don't use this with like an old one. This one's old, but it's still good. So I'm gonna put it around the flat part, right? And I'm gonna put one around on this normal. See? So now when I put it in there, the normal one slips right in, right? And you can press the flange up against the intake manifold, and then you can just push this one into place, right? Force it in there, and then you can put work it in there with your fingers, and then you can kind of see from the inside that it's in place. So now, I mean, this helps. This is gonna be a little easier if you had like a second set of hands, but let's say you don't. Take that, work it around, but you gotta keep pressure pushing back into the motor, right? You don't wanna be pulling this because you'll just pull it off and you gotta restart. Again, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, so no matter what I do, I keep weight on the manifold, pushing it into the motor or onto the flange. All right. Push that here. So I'm gonna get one going, which is not easy, but we're gonna get one going without messing anything up. I should probably POV this, but it's a little late. We're going now. We're cooking. Just enough to hold it on, then you can force the other one on, and then you can adjust it later. You just want it to like hold in place. This one doesn't look too bad. Operation Test Carb underway. More room than I was expecting, but then this carb thing is in the way. I want to move that. Boa. Should probably put a little gasket. Damn it. Let me see. I bet this is the guy. That's the guy right there. All right. Test carb is on. Let's see what happens. All right. We got to get some fuel for the ShovelHead. Yeah, we got that thing to fire up yesterday. And by fire up, I mean catch fire. Luckily, there's no fuel. It was all starting fluid. The guy I got it from said there was no spark. I hooked everything up. There's spark. I don't know if maybe tested a bunch of times. It's in sparking. Again, like I said, it caught fire, which, you know, perfect indicator for spark. I hope I can get the title for that bike, but I know somebody will buy it without the title regardless, and if worst case scenario I could always part it out. Really not wanting to part it out, but I mean, if I'm backed into a corner, you best believe I'm gonna part myself out of it. But yeah, I'd like to at least ride it. It's gonna be cool. I don't want to like really dump money into it either, especially if I can't get the title for it. But the guy is confident he's gonna get all the guy to sign all those papers, and he said he's gonna mail it over, but you never know. Slow race, slow race. Man, I know I said this in my last video, or maybe even my third to last video. I don't know how many times I've said this, but this front end is completely blown. I gotta do something about this front end. I'm gonna do a video on my plans on this bike and what I'm looking for, so maybe somebody, if they see the video, they can be like, oh, I got that, and then boom. And maybe you get a little bit of help in the comments. I want to ride this bike a lot more, right? There's not much dirt around here, so the aggressive dirt tires are kind of silly now. I still like the dirt, you know, style, but since I'm gonna be riding this thing pretty much around town more, I'm gonna make it more street oriented. I don't really want to put like full out street tires on it, but whoops, luckily it's a Sportster. That would have been real funny if it was a freaking anything bigger. That's why it pays to be strong, boys. I think it's time for a new pickaxe. Alright, don't fall off, don't fall off. I'm thinking of going back to the flat track tires, which I have good experience with. Like, I've had them on for I've had a lot of sets of flat track tires on this bike before. I like the way the flat track tires handle on the street, and I like the way they look. I know, alright, so I was picking somebody's brain. He does a lot of flat track. He was telling me, I think his name's Jason Rogers, if I'm not mistaken. I've been following him for quite some time, so I should remember that, but I'm bad with names, I'm pretty stupid. But he was telling me you could run the Mitas or I believe the Dunlap without cutting down the tire or gouging your front end, because the tire's so wide it hits the forks, right? Don't want to do that. And I like I like the look of the full flat track tire, so I'd like to do that. I also always wanted to put a mid-glide front end on this. I've had a Buell X1 front end on this, and that was awesome. It was a little short though, so it was fine for flat track. There's no bumps and stuff. I'm worried, and I didn't have a front brake, so I wasn't really like diving the front end.
So on the street, I definitely want to run a front brake this time around with the flat track tire. So I don't know if the X1 front end would be a great idea. I want to put some really good brakes on this thing and just ride it around and have fun with it. But I've been looking at like an XR1200 front end, which I used to have an XR1200. That front end there's nothing special about it, but the brakes are really good. I also at one point had a Roadster 1200 CX front end on my Dyna. That was awesome. Again, nothing special, not adjustable, not a lot of travel, just fit really good. The brakes on the XR1200 are a lot better than the brakes on the Roadster 1200 CX. That's like the newer Roadster, comes with an inverted front end. Brakes aren't nearly as good. The XR1200 stops night and day better. Like not even in competition with each other. So I'm cool with either of them. They may even be the same front end and the brakes may be interchangeable. I don't know. I know the XR1200 comes with a 18 front and the CX comes with those paperclip 1918, so it's 19 front. I would like to run the paperclips. Unfortunately, the rear is too wide for this swing arm, and if anybody has any experience with the 18-inch rear paperclip Roadster wheels, the rear almost always shears. You almost rip a bolt out of it almost every single time. They're poorly made. Terrible wheel. But that made me think, what if I get two 19-inch paperclip front wheels and use one for the rear? Okay, so I know what you're saying, because if the rear's bad, there's no reason the way the front will be good. True. And you probably have to make like a custom like plate for it, which, you know, could be a hassle, not the end of the world. But I think it would be pretty cool to run the 1919 paperclip wheels, but I don't think they got enough meat for like to bore them out to make them bigger for the sprocket or the rear rotor. So I don't know. I don't want to have to think about my wheel. So I don't mind. I mean, and you can get like cheap 19-inch wheels from, I think TC Bro sells it. You find them on like eBay all the time for pretty cheap. You could even get, which I found out through my buddy Corey from MSN Cycle, which this is probably way harder to find than actual wheel, but a wide glide 19-inch front wheel. So some wide glides came with 19. That works as well. But I mean, good luck finding that. You might as well just buy a new. I think I have the TC Bros, or I think it's like the hard drive. I don't know. I know it's like a Chinese wheel. I've had it on this bike for quite some time and no issues. I haven't checked the spokes in a while, so forgive me.
All right, let's see what she does. She's got fuel now. We know she's sparking. She's leaking a little bit of that fuel, so let's be careful. All right, smoked out the place.